All right, Coach. Team took a big step forward on senior weekend against Omaha. One more series left before the playoffs, a trip over to Kalamazoo. So what has to happen to kind of keep this good feeling going entering postseason play next week?
Well, I think first and foremost, we're going to have to take care of the puck against Western Michigan. I do think they're a team that's pretty competitive, whether it be on the road or at home. But at home, they're a whole different animal, just in terms of the bounces and the student section and the way they come at you. We cannot be that self-inflicting team that is turning over pucks and having opportunities to make a play and then can't make it when it's 100% on our stick. They're going to create enough of their opportunities themselves and what they do. We cannot make that double because we're not taking care of our own business. That was part of our discussion today. We're obviously a team that we just saw them play 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. We feel good about the way we played this past weekend, but one of the things we've tried to be diligent about this year is leaving that there. Being a small picture approach. The small picture approach means take care of today, which is what we did, and we'll worry about tomorrow then. But we will start to talk about the opponent and the venue and those kind of things over the next few days, and we know they're both very, very difficult things.
If you had to point out one or two crucial aspects to the sweep this weekend, what would they be?
Our special teams come to mind right away. We were 30% on the power play and 100% on the penalty kill. Our process, which is a little less specific than what you're saying, but I'll go to special teams and I'll go to our willingness to compete and finish checks. I thought our competitiveness was really good. I thought for the most part our intensity and our energy was pretty consistent over the course of 120 minutes. And then again, I really liked the way we performed on the special teams.
I know you'll take a sweep anytime you can get one, but is there a better time for one on senior night at home and second last weekend of the regular season?
When you look at what these seniors have been through, and they started off as a class of 14, and here we are, the last home series of their senior year. No, there's no better way to end it. They were all, pretty much involved. They all played on Saturday night. There was some guys on the score sheet. Obviously, Ryan had a great weekend. Gordy, Karch. They all come to mind. Carter, Christian. Grant Frederick scored the second goal of his career, whatever it was. We wrapped it up with a nice senior celebration on Sunday morning. And there was the other thing that I really enjoyed was there's lots of family, not only the senior families, but the underclassmen families as well. So to us as a coaching staff and as a program, it was a great way to send off those 6 guys that are skaters, but there's a couple of guys that are student helpers with us in Bryce Hatton and Chase Monroe. And I just think it was a great way to send them off, to answer your question.
You've mentioned the past couple of weeks that you want your guys and your team to just want to continue to playing hockey and not wish for this to be over no matter the result.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your guys are kind of getting to that point of setting in?
Well, the results have a lot to do with that. I can tell you that Saturday night in Denver, after that game, the conversation in the locker room, if all 100% weren't thinking, I wish this was over, a good number of them were thinking that. This past Saturday night here, as we're singing our fight song after a sweep at home, which we haven't had this year, I'm sure there was a bunch of them thinking, I could take this for another, 4 or 6 weeks. Hopefully the latter is going to take over, because at this part of the year, your mental approach and your attitude takes over. Physically, you're fine. They had Monday off. They're 19 to 23-year-old young guys, and they're physically fine. It's allowing yourself to get beat up mentally because of the results or because of the record or whatever it is, and then you don't be the best version of you on that day, whether it's practice or games. The results help with that, and the last taste in our mouth was positive. So hopefully we can carry that momentum as we prepare this week and into the weekend.
This last bit, obviously that kind of go-to line that you've had all year, Gordy, Karch, and Casey all had big weekends, but you also got sprinkled in a little bit of secondary scoring. I think Ryan scoring his first goal since his injury a little over a month or so ago. this time of the year, how important is that? I mean, obviously you want your best players to be your best players at this time of the year, but also to be getting that secondary scoring to make you a little more dangerous.
It's mandatory, Chad. You have to have it. If you don't have it, your opponent can shut down the one line as good as that line has played. The other team can focus on one group and not the entire. If there's anything that stands out in terms of this league, it's the depth of the teams in all three positions. So we need to be a deep team. And your question is regarding scoring. We need to have other guys involved. I'll throw Matt Berry's name in that conversation. He has been involved offensively. He gives us another scoring, quote unquote, center to go along with Casey Gilling. So we need it. We're going to need it this weekend. We're going to need it next weekend. And that, to me, I want that to start with an expectation of all the individuals in there to expect more from themselves. If you're a guy that thinks you can contribute offensively, then go ahead and do that. Expect that of yourself and go and do that. And don't settle for less, like that kind of approach. But we're 100% going to need it to have any success on the road over the next couple of weekends. We're going to need everybody and no passengers for sure.
Right. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks a lot.
Karch, obviously I imagine everyone's feeling pretty good entering practice this week and going to Western Michigan on the road to kind of build some momentum. I guess what are some of the things that conversations that I've had as far as what led to last weekend and making sure that you're that sharp again this weekend and going forward into playoffs?
Yeah, I don't know if it was anything different than a typical week for us. I think outside of anything, it would just be that it was senior weekend and a lot of emotions there for us, and then all the younger guys stepped up as well, so that was huge from them. Larks obviously played a heck of a weekend and kept us in the game early when we let up a few chances, and then from there on out he shut the door. So I'd say that was the biggest factor for us. Moving on to next week, we're trying to do the same thing this week as we did last week, just same type of preparation. I know today we had another battle day, day off yesterday, same style as last week, so hopefully we can carry the same momentum in.
Did you have a bunch of family and friends here for senior weekend?
Yes, yep.
How was it contributing in front of them and knowing you're playing, final 2 games at Goggin?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, I had a ton of support. Some of my best friends from all over, from Detroit, from back home, from Fort Wayne. So a lot of emotion there as well. And then, just being with my family, it was an emotional weekend. We had senior speeches on Sunday as well, and that was emotional too. But hasn't really hit me yet that was the last game I'll play, and the rest of the guys, the senior class, will play in this building. But what a way to go out for us. I mean, it was definitely exciting and a lot of fun to play in this environment as well. So.
Yeah, how are you kind of feeling as your regular season wraps up, your final one?
Yeah, you're kind of just focused on the next day. I know a lot of people talk about that, but right now we have a chance to put ourselves in a decent spot for playoffs. We're still fighting for seeding, and then once playoffs do roll around, wherever we end up, we can make something happen. We always talk about how the goal coming in the beginning of the year is to win a tournament and ultimately the national championship. And it's not like that door has closed for us. We've put ourselves in a little bit more difficult of a position just because of how we played this year. But at the end of the day, that's still a possibility, and we still have that opportunity to win a championship and ultimately work our way into the national tournament as well. So,
you got a Western team that you're playing in their barn, a spot you're very familiar with, and a couple weeks ago, get a couple points in the Friday game. It's a 1-1 game in the second period of the Saturday game. They get a couple of goals. Anything you take away out of that series, especially given that you open up with a pretty good performance in them in that Friday game, and we're right there toe-to-toe with them, even though they ended up getting the result on Saturday?
Yeah. I think we know by this point in the season that when we play our best, we can play with anyone. Western's got a lot of firepower. That's been the case for years now. But when we're structured and we're playing within our systems, we can really compete with anybody. So I think going into this weekend, we have to limit our turnovers, limit our mistakes, because they can capitalize on them. But if we do that, we'll put ourselves in the game, and at that point, goaltending ultimately is the final factor. So if we both get chances and limit our mistakes, I like our chances with Larks in that. So, yeah.
Thanks, Karch.
Yeah, appreciate it.